Welcome back. Political panel time. Let me introduce them. Harrison Fields, former White House Deputy Press Secretary under President Trump, making his first takeout appearance as a CBS News political contributor. Dan Kanninen is a Democratic strategist, former Battleground States Director for Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. Welcome to you both. Harrison, congrats. Good to have you aboard. Let's talk about Nancy Mace. The iron rule here is if I go to it before we go to break, we have to bring it in when I first come back. So she was running fifth of 5 Republicans in the governor's race in South Carolina. Not a huge surprise she doesn't get the endorsement from President Trump. Interestingly, on social media, she posted that the proximate cause may have been her pressing for transparency in the Epstein files matter, saying, if this is the price of an endorsement, I will never pay it. How do you think that's going to go down, Harrison?
Yeah, when all else fails, sometimes people resort to being a sore loser. It was very clear based on the polls where the president endorsement was going to go. The lieutenant governor is extremely qualified here. The governor endorsed her as well.
Pamela Everett is the lieutenant governor, and the governor, as you said, Henry McMaster, had endorsed her months before. That was kind of a tell because he and the president very close.
Very close. Yeah, so I think there was no surprises out of this race. And, there's a lot of conversations about the president's endorsements now. His endorsement rate is probably...
Within the Republican Party, it is absolute gold.
He's batting 1,000.
Nearly 1,000.
And, there was a little consternation about his decision in Texas. For a lot of South Carolinians who are looking at the president for this level of endorsement, they're probably breathing a sigh of relief. Nancy Mace would have made that race a little bit more complicated. I wish her well. I know she's very dedicated in a lot of different tasks that she goes out with, especially defending women. But this race is going to be clear, and it will be Governor Everett very soon.
Dan, I want to give you a chance to talk about however much you want to talk about what happened with Graham Plattner's campaign over the weekend. Related to that, a few moments ago, Janet Mills, governor of Maine, was in the race, suspended her campaign. She just put out a quick sort of milquetoast reminder. People have the impression that I withdrew or dropped out, but I simply suspended my active campaigning. I'm still on the ballot.
Yeah.
How do you think this weekend's events, Graham Plattner's reaction, which was a little more unsteady than he'd responded to other things, puts the race?
Well, I think there was a really good reason, evidently, why Chuck Schumer, the DSCC, was pushing for an alternative
Democratic
candidate.
Senatorial Campaign Committee,
yes. And there was on the left...
Pushing Janet Mills very hard.
Pushing Janet Mills hard. And on the left, in the online left especially, there was consternation about the DS, Chuck Schumer's committee, putting his thumb on the scale in that race.
The
establishment. Obviously, I think they saw something in Plattner that was concerning, and we'll see what the voters say about this. Now, Plattner, to date, has weathered a lot of criticism and critiques.
Right.
It is unclear how this will play with voters. I'd say that truly, one way or the other, we'll see. He's got to answer for this. His wife had a video that was compelling, but he's got to now speak to this and convince people that he can be trusted based on not just his behavior, but the idea that this is another shoe dropping and what else might be
Are there
dropping.
more shoes?
Yes. Now, I've said this a lot, but 2006 was a fight election. The Iraq War, kick him out, just change the guard, right? 2008 was the turn the page. If 2026 is purely about the fight, perhaps Plattner can survive this. But if he's got to convince people in the middle to trust him, he's going to have a harder time.
That's, I think, very cogent analysis. I want to talk to you, Harrison, about Los Angeles mayor's race, because Melanie Mason, just on from Political, raised, I think, a really important point. Spencer Pratt has this tremendous, well-earned viral reputation. Can that translate on the ground for Los Angeles mayoral voters, not just the online community, many of whom don't even live in California? What do you think?
I think it could. I think people in Los Angeles are desperate for change. There's a reason why his candidacy kind of came forth. It's because he dealt with incompetence at the local level following that devastating Palisades fire. So you have a lot of people in Los Angeles that are wanting change. He could certainly be it. Karen Bass has a lot to answer to her constituents.
As I brought up last week, the #1 polling complaint in Los Angeles was corruption in city government. That cannot be a good place for an incumbent to be.
At all.
Dan?
It's not, and it's not just the mayor's race. Jake Levine is a Democrat running in a primary against a sitting member of Congress, Brad Sherman, who Jake would say he's from Palisades. He watched the city and his members of Congress not respond aggressively enough, with enough force, enough speed to that incident, and then looked at decades of not taking care of business. And so besides the mayor's race, there's maybe members of Congress on the Democratic side who will lose their seats if a guy like Jake gets through the top 2 and is a serious challenge in the fall.
I want to ask you about the former First Lady. She's got a book out. She did a very heavily publicized, at least here, interview with CBS Sunday Morning, talking about the debate performance, her sense of it. How do you absorb what the former First Lady is saying about decisions made, her role in them.
Well, I watched Andy Beshear speak this weekend to this very
Kentucky
same
governor,
point.
Democrat.
Yep. And I think he had one of the most cogent answers here possible. You're looking at someone who is a First Lady, a wife who loves her husband very much and is going to defend him always, and it's hard to critique that. Now, I always felt like, as someone who worked for Joe Biden on the campaign and then Kamala Harris, by the way, I wouldn't recommend doing two candidates top of the ticket. That's my tip to you, Harrison. That what we were dealt with is the choice between an open primary, which went very badly in 2019 for Democrats. It was a mess. Kamala Harris, who wasn't polling well and wasn't quite ready in the estimation of the president, or do I have enough left in the fastball? And I think he thought he did. I think the First Lady thought he did. And then in that moment, he hung the curve of all curves. And
in the debate.
And so I think all of that you're seeing from her, maybe not well said in terms of the words and how she chose the words, but that was just the reality of the experience. I think he could do this, and then he couldn't. And that was the end of it.
Dan Kanninen, great stuff. I appreciate the candor. Harrison Fields, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We'll see you here again. I hope we'll see you back here again
Anytime.
to the best set on television. Everybody knows it.